Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 4th ever European Crucible. Once again, I am Tetra. It is good to be back in the Los Angeles studio with a resident of this place at this point. It's Caldor. How you doing, Dave?
That's a forceful interview right there. I'm not used to that from Dave anymore. Yeah, I'm doing well.
Excellent, good to hear. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here for the Crucible, where we will be deciding whether the Open Division teams can take down the Titans of the HGC European Pro teams and steal their spots in the Pro Division. Here is our schedule to see what wonderful games we'll be having. We will have 1 EU series and 1 North American series per day, with our first one being Monkey Menagerie versus EPunks.
There's a lot of cool storylines here, not only on the European side, where we have 2 extremely strong Open Division teams challenging the HGC teams, but also when you're looking over to North America, Storm Gaming coming over to NA and now trying to make a bit of a mark on the North American scene here. They struggle a bit in the Open Division, which is quite understandable considering that they were still like settling in, having a bit of jet lag too. Their meta, you could argue, was maybe a little bit outdated compared to the Western meta, but right now the team has improved a lot. So it's not only Europe that's going to be very close. We're probably going to see a lot of close matches on the North American side too later on today.
Yeah, we were talking beforehand, and we believe this might be one of the best phases of Crucible ever in terms of both matchups. Like you said, the Storm story is just fantastic, coming all the way over to the United States just to compete in the Open Division in an attempt to live the dream and become an HGC North American Pro. But then, of course, tomorrow we have Scythe Gaming against Simplicity for North America. They look really good. Scythe Gaming were doing a fantastic job during their Open Division run. And then in Europe, we have the upset team taking down the 6-time Cup champions EPunks. We have from the European Open Division the Holy Bananas, and they're playing against Roll20.
Bit of a missed opportunity, of course, not
know.
seeing the Bananas against the Monkeys here. That would have been fantastic. But no matter who picks whom here, we have great games ahead because both of these Open Division teams are extremely strong, and both are actually in a mindset right now where they say, hey, we should win this series quite easily. For me personally, it comes down to nerves a bit because that's the huge advantage that the HGC teams have. They're used to all of this. They're used to playing on that schedule, on the stream, and there's a lot of issues that could occur for the Open Division teams since they don't quite have that experience yet, even though a lot of the players that are on both teams have either found themselves in the Crucible at some point already or even played in HGC in the past.
Let's get a bit of an insight into that mindset by having a look at what the 2 teams in our first matchup had to say about each other.
So during part 2, we were locked in for Crucible quite early, and we decided to take a couple of weeks break and then come back for week 5 and start practicing for Crucible since it's the most important match for us. We've been pretty much practicing a lot for 3 weeks now, and we are in the best shape we've been. EPunks is a very strong team, and actually I respect all of their players, and I can see all of them being in AGC, but I think the weakness in the team is that they don't have a strategical leadership personality like we do. I think we're just a much better team than everyone thinks. It's just that we've had like certain problems throughout the season, but I think like right now we are in the best shape we've ever been, and I can totally see us crushing EPunks.
Team kind of formed of me and Grandpa talking to each other after we got kicked from respective teams. We noticed that Rosk was also kicked from his team, so we asked him and he wanted to join. And we also looked at Sonic, because he's been playing in HGC, he's been subbing at a LAN event. My first Crucible I played to the 7 series, and I would not like to do the same because it's very draining and it takes a lot to play 7 games straight up in one series. So we're gonna try to make it a 4-0, get it over it as quick as possible. I think we will win because we are more competitive than Monkeys and we have more passion about the game. The way they played in HGC, I kind of didn't like it because it doesn't have the greatest of respect for all other competitive players. So I think we have a big fire coming into the Crucible, and we're gonna bring them down.
strong words coming in there from both teams, but especially EPunks. They're mentioning there that they actually have 3 ex-HGC professionals, 1 substitute for Fnatic at the Western Clash, Sonic the Beast, who did fantastically, and then we have Cass, who during the entirety of the Open Division just showed that he's such a strong solo laner. This team has so much pedigree behind it, despite being an Open Division team.
It's still an interesting match for a couple of reasons, because what we heard Splendor talk about hits a really good point. A lot of people were looking at so the team that wins the Open Division can choose which opponent they want to go up against. And since the Holy Banana secured that spot, a lot of the audience, at least, a lot of the community thought, okay, this is an easy lock-in, they're going to go and pick the Monkeys. And a lot of people were super surprised when they chose Roll20 instead. And I think it makes a lot of sense if you think about it, because not only did the Monkeys defeat Roll20 twice, but at the same time, they are predictable. Roll20 has shown the entire season, this is where we are at. They've shown a meta, they've shown a playstyle, they have continuously practiced. You know what you get when you pick Roll20. When you pick the Monkeys, you have no idea what you're getting, because they haven't really practiced as much as other teams, so they have a chance of making a huge spike in skill once that they go, dedicate their time to a rigorous training schedule. And at the same time, they showed the most craziest meta of all, because and at times you don't know, is it because they didn't take the game serious enough? Is it because they think the strategy can surprise an opponent? So when you prepare for the Monkeys, you have no clue what to do. You're just trying to get a good draft for yourself, but you never know what the Monkeys are going to throw at you.
Exactly, but let's see where they will be throwing it as we head to the map battlegrounds. Where will we be taking this fight? We have Braxis banned out by EPunks with the Monkey Menagerie, removing Dragonshire, and EPunks Caldor, they will be taking us to the battlefield of eternity to start off.
And immediately we're having a battleground where we're going to see a lot of brawling between the two teams happening here. And this map, I would say, already sets the tone for the series quite a bit. It's a battleground where the Monkeys in the past have shown occasionally a bit of an odd pick here, especially on Alex's side. And this is, of course, where you want to take that lead. And I think for the EPunks, it's really important that they start with a victory here, because even with the experience that they have, nerves are still a bit of an issue. You worked the entire last 6 months for this moment. If you start with losing the first map, that could really just put doubts into your head that you continuously think about, where you start making bad decisions throughout the games that you normally wouldn't really make here. And the first game is also showing us how strong are the Monkeys at this point.
And let's start talking about nerves. We have EPunks. They won 6 out of the 7 cups. The 1 cup they didn't win, apparently Sonic was feeling a little bit ill. But then they get to the playoffs. They do so well in the playoffs, but the second they get to the actual important match, the one match that lets them choose their opponent, suddenly everything goes wrong. Is pressure an issue for EPunks?
I talked to them a bit about that, and they told me that they felt like they ran a bit out of steam in that series, that at some point they were already qualified, you know, that was the biggest thing for them, and that they didn't just have the same fighting spirit that they had in the previous games throughout the playoffs. And they said, this is definitely something we need to work on. It's not something that we are proud of in any means, but this is a loss that is understandable from our position. We need more to work on, and it's not going to have an impact for future games.
So this season, Monkey Menagerie are 0-7 on Battlefield of Eternity. So clearly research has been done here by the EPunks, getting in a little bit of a sneaky first pick, trying to gain an early advantage. And with Tyrande being picked up first for Monkey Menagerie, they already have the good setup for hard CC cons, but they've let Yorel go over to EPunks. Cass dominated with this all Open Division.
I mean, there's a couple of things with this. First of all, I personally think that stats on the side of the Monkeys actually can be very misleading here.
I can see that.
Because they haven't really put in as much time during the season as they did now for the Crucible, and they openly stated that, and it's something that Lauber talked about in the interview too. But when you're looking at the bans already, the Monkeys definitely, with a ban on Samuro, already hinting that they expect from EPunks a little bit of sneaky plays here, with Cass jumping on that Samuro, and they also get rid of Hanzo. You've been talking about the early pick on Tyrande, trying to focus on the objective. Hanzo does the same thing, of course, as well. He is really good at the race on the Immortal, so Monkeys take that away, pick Tyrande, and now even Reyna, which we have seen several times with adjustments on Exterminator as a level 1 talent to try and get even more Immortal rays for your own team.
Which makes sense, of course, getting that race to burn down the Immortal. He's one of the few heroes who can compete with Hanzo, for example, who is already removed in terms of that speed. So taking that, and Tyrande with, of course, that Hunter's Mark to get that extra damage, you have fantastic race already against EPunks. Medivh doesn't add that much race. Yorel doesn't add that much race. Right now, Monkey Menagerie massively winning the Immortal race, and they have a pretty fantastic burst setup already.
There are a couple of really cool aspects for the EPunks though. They have a lot of protection already layered through the armor that Urel can provide any team member. Medivh, of course, with the portals for the engage, for the disengage, and it allows you to play that ETC. Greymane as well is going to benefit highly from that extra armor that Urel gives you, and also that shield. Snap picks though from the monkeys. They really know what they want here, and they are going for it immediately. No hesitation whatsoever. Very different already from the draft, from the start, from the monkeys compared to what we have seen in Phase 2 of 2018 here at HGC.
It is very interesting indeed. It's still more burst though. Li Ming follow up on that Diablo Tyrande combo can be insane here. So how are EPunks going to deal with this? They need a main support. It's going to be the classic Deckard Kayn coming in here. They've got the anti-healing. They've got a huge amount of fight control potentially. But of course, all the CC Deckard offers, that ETC and the Medivh potential for either Leyline Seal or Polybomb. In terms of longer sustained team fights and that Medivh for burst protection, the EPunks draft isn't that terrible. But the Monkey Menagerie draft is simple and effective, and that could be, it's always risky to go up against something like that.
I would agree with that. It's a very straightforward draft where you know exactly what you get. You have good poke through Li Ming, you have Tyrande for the Immortal as well, run as a solo support here. Reina can make the adjustments with the Ace in the Hole and the Exterminator, so there's definitely wiggle room for him. You add a Global to the equation to try to get the earlier level 10 and heroic abilities that could lead to the second Immortal, depending on the timings of the first one. When I look over to EPunks though, they have a couple of really cool things too. Normally I'm not a fan of having ETC as the main tank, but if you compare it, or if you pair it with the Urel, all of a sudden he has more sustain and is not as much prone to be blown up by the opponent. Then on top of that, you now also have Medivh. And that's just a great setup to keep these frontliners alive. If Greymane wants to dive in deep, Urel can help out here too. With the armor, you have Medivh for the follow-up. There is good arguments for the EPunks to be very aggressive in this setup, but as you said, monkeys have a clear-cut vision of what they want to do here. They have kill potential and they have an Immortal race possible for themselves. Game 1 is going to be hype. It's like, again, I want to see how strong are the monkeys today.
As do I, but it's time to find out, ladies and gentlemen, as we are heading into game number 1. And ladies and gentlemen, hailing from the HGC Pro Division, it is Monkey Menagerie, with Reina being played by Crosby, Diablo being played by Remaballer, Li Ming by Maka, Tyrande played by Splendor, and Dahaka is played by Alex the Pro G.
And over to the right side, the challengers coming from the open division. It is the EPunks. Rocking it today with Kaz on the off lane, playing Urel for the team. Sonic Le Beast playing Medivh here in game number 1 of the best of 7 series. Grand Paquette as a supporter, of course, on Deckard Kayn. Roskmak, the former HGC player, on Greymane. And Lauber leading the charge at the front line with ETC.
Fascinating start already. The block party coming in for ETC makes sense here due to the fact there's a lot of CC. So in theory, the guitar hero, which would be the other healing option, is going to get interrupted. Autos will be a bit harder. And of course, it protects against Reina, and Prog Rock is harder to stack on this map due to globes being an issue. Not so much for Li Ming though, who has still ended up going for the power hungry.
Reina has decided to go into Ace in the Hole here, so no Exterminator for the added Immortal pressure. They already have a fair amount, so it's not necessarily needed here. More kill pressure through the auto attacks of Jimmy. And interestingly enough, Tyrande actually going into the Celestial Attunement as the level 1 talent.
Yeah.
Now that is what most Tyrande players started off with. Very powerful against a lot of CC. There's not as much on the side of the EPunks, so I could have totally seen them go into the Spell Armor instead, which recently has actually become the talent that we see nearly the most. So there's definitely a couple of things that you can do with adjustments on Tyrande on level 1 or in the earlier levels in general, but they decide to go into the double cleanse here.
Yeah, the cleanse, of course, against ETC is going to be good. It doesn't affect Roots, so it won't affect Deckard Kayn that much, but it's still going to be nice against the Hammer of Urel, etc. And of course, the less stuns you have, the more efficient you can be with that cleanse.
Oh.
Big move onto Rema, and they take him out. Great engage by Lauber.
Yeah, Remaballer immediately attacked here, and it's one of those things that we have seen a lot of teams try and exploit throughout Phase 2, trying to focus the front line of the monkeys here. EPunks now immediately focusing their attention onto the camp. They can also start to transition someone up top, where we have Alex now going up against Kaz. And Cass is actually one of the players that the Monkeys have highlighted as a potential weakness on the side of the EPunks. Alex himself wasn't quite sure what to make of Cass, if he's really a player that he needs to respect. And he literally said, let's wait until the weekend. Once I'm meeting him on the off lane, I know exactly how strong he actually is. But he's one of the players where Alex felt, okay, he's one of the weaker ones on the EPunks lineup. And to be fair, he's also the player that has the least experience in the competitive environment.
He's played several Crucibles, but has yet to make it to, sorry, not Crucible, several Open Divisions, but has yet to make it to a Crucible. The only person in this entire game who has not been to a HGC professional event, only in the amateur scene. So like you say, experience is a factor, but this Yrel has been dominant all Open Division season. And so far, he's laning effectively but passively against Alex for good reason. Always got to be afraid of that gank when he did not have vision of the members of Menagerie.
I mean, you're raising a good point here. When Monkeys at some point would identify that Yrel in his hands is too much of an issue, they need to adjust to that. And within a best of 7, you create your own meta in a series. So going forward after Game 1, we're definitely going to see adjustments from the teams, or we should see them eventually coming in to try and target those points. But now it's time for the first Immortal, and already a little bit of pressure here, but here comes the Portal engage. Lauba trying to move in, he's not the only one. Cass is there too, they're focusing on Crosby, but they cannot get him into the stun, and what a drag by Alex.
A fantastic force of will though, is it enough? And Lauba escapes here. Great move, and the fact is, that was great saves by both teams. The Celestial attunement to prevent the ETC, remove the ETC stun, and the force of will.
That was not only that was Remaballer messing up massively here.
Yeah, he flipped him out.
Exactly, he flipped him out. He could have simply body blocked him and that would have been a dead ETC. He was on cooldown for his basic abilities, so that could have been a kill for the Monkeys. But Remaballer a bit too overconfident here, flips him over, and then all of a sudden ETC is able to walk away.
And that was a 5 versus 4 because Greymane was sneakily down the bottom, cleaning up the Menagerie Immortal. Grand Paqueta in danger here. In comes Medivh, just in case the save is needed, but Lauba and Roskmeg are creating a great zoning tool here to keep everything safe and begin pinging away at that Immortal.
Grand Paqueta was so hyped for this series. He wanted to go up against the Monkeys. He wanted to go up against the team that kicked him originally. He wanted revenge, and he is going to play his heart out to make his way back into HGC and get that revenge. Lauba already sliding through once again. Alex in trouble, and here are the EPunks trying to go for it, but he pops the essence and walks away.
Portal's fantastic, but this is all just delaying here as EPunks move back in. ETC has popped the fountain. It's going to be a quick race, but Reina, without that Executioner here, it is Exterminator, sorry, it is going to be EPunks barely picking up the first Immortal of the game.
Really, really close call there. Very close, and especially Greymane, of course, helps in that scenario so much. We have the Monkeys with the trade on Tyrande. We're also having, besides the Hunter's Mark, Ming and Reina with that additional damage. EPunks still securing Immortal #1. It's a small one, not a lot of shields, but it should still help them to break at least through the walls. 1 or 2 towers go a long way in the early game.
Exactly, it's all experience here. And with only 1 kill on the board, tower experience becomes all the more important. As we hit those level 7s for both teams pretty much simultaneously as they begin creeping forward. Diablo finds the rotating Cass, but Rema's gonna pull back, not get himself engaged on. Not so lucky for Crosby here, who is trapped against the wall. There's very few minions left here. Crosby engaged by Roskmeg, but it's not enough.
Crosby's able to walk away, and they're trying to turn it around again. Remaballer, on the other hand, needs to be careful too. Again, the stuns coming out of Tyrande here. Great play by Splendor, getting the double hit in and starting to stack up his level 4, sitting at 6 stacks right now. I love the original approach of the EPunks to push past the fort, make sure that they got more and more damage onto it, and Monkeys weren't really willing to commit to anything here. A great attack also against Reina, but as you pointed out, Reina able to walk away from this. The Celestial attunement definitely helping out here. He's level 4 talent, fantastic in that situation, and the EPunks couldn't get the kill.
Rema crept forward there, decides against it. Medivh sees this wraparound. Lauba, easy face melt with the upgraded loudspeakers, able to pull back pretty calmly.
Also, a couple of things to point out here when it comes to quest talents. We have 25 stacks on Sonic Le Beast with Medivh.
Nice.
And we have 72 for Remaballer on Diablo, so really starting to get that hit point pull up here for his front line.
They begin burning through the minions, protecting this fort. It was dropped to just over half health by the Immortal, so they were able to keep that very well protected for the moment with the quick clear speed they do have. So they pull back, gonna head straight to that Fallen Shaman.
The level 7 talent also giving quite a bit of power spikes here to the Monkeys, with Calamity in particular. And that's something that EPunks have to watch out for. So far, the game's going well for them, but if you look at the experience, there's not really a big lead for the EPunks by any means. That early Immortal didn't scale that heavily, of course, yet. That's something that's going to continue soon. And this is also an aspect where Dehaka is starting to show his value. Oftentimes you want to get that earlier level 10 thanks to Dehaka and his global abilities. That normally coincides with the second Immortal that we now have spawning on the map.
They hover around the area, but pull back for the moment. Greymane even hovering inside his own base to prevent himself being ganked, making sure he can soak this experience and burn through the Shaman. This is the strategy. Kill the Shaman while zoning the enemies, but the second Menagerie see Greymane down there, they quickly move on and get some quick poke damage onto the EPunks Immortal.
Greymane is having an easy time taking that camp down though. Dehaka at the top lane, providing the experience for the Monkeys. Both of the teams obviously racing to level 10 right now. EPunks have already taken some free damage on their own Immortals, so the Monkeys with good rotations have gotten a slight advantage here. It's nothing too crazy just yet. This is really one of the moments where Medivh is also going to help you out. He provides the vision down here, he tells them exactly what's happening, and up to the top now, it's the EPunks trying to get the early level 10, and they will grab those heroic abilities.
No, they will, but it's very close behind for Monkey Menagerie.
Stage dive.
Seeing Stage Dive. That is interesting, but I guess again, Celestial Attunement only removes the stun. It doesn't reply an Unstoppable, so Mosh Pit would have been cool there.
But at the same time, you have so many interrupts here.
That's true,
so
Wave
there's
of
like,
Force.
yeah, exactly. Wave of Force, you have like Dehaka to Ronda alone already, a huge deterrent. And if you have Dehaka on the other side, that extra global that you add through Stage Dive can really help you to also get some side soak in.
I mean, Leyline Stage Dive is a combo we saw a little bit, I think, like at the first Western Clash. So seeing that return here is really cool. Good knock back onto Nolba, preventing the aggression.
Yeah, Rimmerballer is really aggressive here with his charges, always trying to go in deep. He needs to be careful with that, though. Now, he has the stacks to make that happen. 86 right now, so still very hit point heavy. 30 stacks, by the way, on Medivh, so Sonic is getting closer to completing his own baseline quest on the hero with the Arcane Rift. But this is just a defensive position for the EPunks right now. Level 10 is where you have to be so cautious, especially once that Alex makes his move on Dehaka. If he hits a good isolation against the backline and gets the dragon, that's really what you have to be cautious about. But of course, there's also the Tornado to consider.
Could be a great zoning tool. They find Crosby once again. Celestial Attunement is good, but they've managed to get him into a bit of a choke point, but it's enough of a disengage with that Hyperion being burned to force everyone to back out. As we see Rema moving in, nearly bites off board Nikan.
Was a good bait on the Hyperion though, and here they go again with the Tornado straight for Rimmerballer. Diablo's in trouble, gets pushed in again, and they take him down.
The ley line for zoning. Here's the isolation to try and force the disengage as the Stage Dive lands on no one. But the halfway point has been reached by Monkey Menagerie as they're all going for the retreat. Great Lunar Flare as Cass looks to cut off the escape route, but he's run out of room to chase.
I really like that Cass moved back in, that EPunks made the choice and said, like, guys, let's not chase. They were trying to cut them off, but Monkeys retreated very, very methodically. I like it a lot, making sure that they're stunning and controlling HGC so he can't cut off the path of retreat. So now they're trying to use that numeric advantage on the map. But if you look at the Immortal, Monkeys did a fantastic job before that kill against Rimmerballer happened. So now it's still more or less a 50-50 that we're seeing between the two teams here, despite the kill that the EPunks got just a few seconds ago.
They did, however, burn... No, they didn't even burn Diablo's Souls. He had 94.
Yeah.
It's just the early game respawn. That is a huge deal, which means Rema is still horrendously tanky right now. So he can move back in and take another engage if he finds the opportunity. Rosmeg might end up being the target as he is creeping forward.
It showed, though, how strong that Tornado can be when Rimmerballer goes in a bit too deep, and that's something that especially Garn Paquette on his deck Arcane is of course going to watch out for. Watch Rema's movement, try and punish him, but at this point still very even. And look at that poke. Monkeys just have the better poke in this race.
Exactly. With that Li Ming even on its own, they have fantastic poke onto this Immortal. Dehaka creeping around. Rosbek tries to escape, but a great engage. Rema has gone very far forward. Are they going to go for him as the Lightning Breath is dropped? Immediately, EPunks pulling back.
Also, Sonic completing the quest on his level, on his baseline. Here comes the... a miss actually on the stun, but Rimmerballer is still in trouble just as he completes his soul. If he dies here, that would be horrible for him. Rimmerballer is about to go down, and he dies again.
Souls are down, but Cass is completely out of mana. He has to pull back, and Crosby took an opportunity. Seeing his Diablo getting chased down, he went straight for the Immortal, but he might pay for it. He got great Immortal damage, but he was too greedy and goes down.
Another kill for the EPunks, but they're losing out on the Immortal at this point. Once again, Revel Make is starting to move in. He's out of mana, though. That's a huge problem for him. Make trying to retreat here. The stun doesn't really work out, and that's another kill secured for the EPunks. 5 kills against 0.
But it is once again Monkey Menagerie taking advantage of EPunks chasing. They secure the Immortal. With an XP lead for EPunks, it might be recoverable by Monkey Menagerie if they can use this Immortal to gain some towers.
So let's talk about a few things here. The problem is that monkeys cannot continue this playstyle throughout the later stages of the game. Once that the death timers are increasing, you cannot sacrifice this many heroes simply to get the objective. At this point, it works out for them. There's no doubt about it. You lose a lot of heroes, but you still secure the Immortal, and you can make up for the difference in experience. But as the game progresses, as we're heading into the later stages here, and the increased death timers will be a massive problem for the monkeys if they do not get counter kills. And to be absolutely honest, so far they haven't even looked close to getting a kill.
Yeah, not yet. It's 5-0. They haven't been able to do anything with this, and it's only going to get harder. With Enduring Will coming in for Medivh, he's making everyone even harder to take down now.
And let's not forget, there were even a few steps on the side of the EPunks where they messed up. That power slide of ETC as the lane line was was actually mistimed by Lauber and Sonic, so they didn't have the perfect synergy here. And again, we have to put it in perspective. If there is a team that has to battle nerfs at this point, it's the EPunks. Even with all the experience that they have in the past, this is still something where they will struggle more than the monkeys. So that's a mistake that you can definitely make and that is excusable. But even with these tiny mistakes, they're racking up the kills. They are the ones dominating the team fight. So just imagine how this is going to look when they are smoothing out those small issues.
But here is Monkey Menagerie. They find a big grouped up EPunk setup. They're going to try and move in with the level 13s, even with Alex moving in, but the quick knockback from Cash shuts it down, and they might even try the re-engage, but the Hyperion is going to dissuade that.
So there's a couple of things with this. I actually like it. ETC didn't really have to jump in, but they actually said, okay, we want to take this fight. So they didn't necessarily jump in to hit someone with a stage dive. It was more so the follow-up with a power slide. But once that Hyperion got committed to, they walked away from it. But I really like how Urel and ETC both controlled the movements of their Haka and made sure that he can't get the dragon. Very important here. Once that Alex committed to his cooldown with a global, it was no problem for ETC to mirror those movements with the stage dive. But then they see the Hyperion and immediately they're saying, guys, they burn cooldowns, let's move back. There's no reason for us to fight in that choke point, and they use the face melt and also Urel to just push everyone back on the side of the monkeys.
Owl spotted this Fallen Shaman being captured. Rema punishes Lauber for his engage. A massive Celestial Attunement really saved Rema there. But Alex has already slightly pushed up this bot lane Shaman camp, and they're zoning away EPunks, so this bottom fort might fall.
Yeah, Rosmic is also now in a spot with his Greymane where he's always trying to get those extra bullets in, and he's really chunking down Diablo quite heavily. Once again, they're going for Rema here. They're trying to exploit Fortnite, but look for Crosby. Lornado is hitting home again. The isolation of Alex, not too bad. He needs to use the burrow, does it immediately, pops the assets as they go in again.
Beautiful wraparound from Alex as Lauber gets hit by the lightning breath, but power slides away. That was definitely one of the better turnarounds we've seen from Monkey Menagerie this game with that fantastic flank from Alex, but they can't secure a kill.
And look at the cooldowns. They burned nearly everything. They hidden half Hyperion, but they burned everything else in that fight.
Yeah.
The EPunks still have the Ardent Defender, the ley line, and the bullet is back up too, so they have still a lot of kill potential.
With stage dive being available, ETC was the perfect choice to head to this bot lane and clear up this Fallen Shaman camp that took down a tower. It got a fort and the tier 2 tower, so fantastic job by Alex the Prodigy empowering that push before he joined his team.
The 16 worries me. EPunks is so close to that once the halftime show starts, there's a good chance they have the extra advantage. Again,
Rema.
Diablo being attacked here. The ley line comes through. The Hyperion to save him. They're going for him again. The stage dive on the Toronto, and Splendor's in trouble. It goes down.
Splendor is destroyed as they turn around for more with Cass diving in, but Rema, too tanky at this stage, pulls back. He's up to 44 souls, which is still a decent amount. So they look for Crosby, but they've overpushed.
Make saving with the wave of force. Reina here. Great move interrupting that jump that we saw from Urel. Rema Ball, on the other hand, finds himself on the wrong side of that battle and goes down to another kill against Diablo. The EPunks on level 16, 7 kills against 0. A 1 level lead. EPunks looking dominant in game number 1.
They look fantastic as they move to the center of the map, waiting for that immortal landing. Grandpa Keta even just going to run back and grab a little bit of mana. He burned a fair amount in that last fight. We saw once again the tiniest bit of weakness from EPunks. The anti-synergy, Lornado and Leyline overlapping, getting very little value, but the end result was still very much in their favor.
Yeah, they definitely make a few mistakes, but it's nitpicking at this point because the big battle is still in their favor. And Diablo in particular, Remabola, he is getting punished so hard. He died 4 times already. Out of those 7 deaths, 4 of the kills were against him. He gets abused massively by, for example, that Lornado that comes through all the time. ETC waiting for him to just overstep a little bit, and every time he does that, he's immediately getting punished by the EPunks. And now they have a big Immortal here, 60% shields. They're moving through that top lane, and you can already tell they want more here. ETC is down to the bottom of the map. He has his cooldown up. He can stage dive in. This is where the EPunks are looking for the first keep.
As they begin creeping forward, and like you said, we see Lornado coming out, doesn't grab anything, but Cursed Bullet, the Templar's Verdict, the percentage damage and armor reduction from the Yarel, all of these things are so effective against Diablo, but it's Alex who might be in trouble here. Eats an Emerald, but is still able to pull back. Nice zoning Hyperion.
Hyperion is there, and here comes the engage.
Crosby.
They're going for Crosby. They're trying to at least. Crosby, nice, gets away, at least for now. Alex, on the other hand, is in trouble.
We see the Great Shadow Storm keeping everyone alive, but Alex and Rem are both caught in that Immortal Stun, but Portal's already gone. The EPunks, they are out of there, disappearing into the map.
I really like how EPunks are playing this right now, because, again, nerves are an issue. An experienced team. Rosmek played a season in HGC. Laubauer, of course, was in HGC too. Sonic, he subbed in several times, but they still, at this point, have the coordination and more so the discipline to just say, okay, guys, let's move back.
Yeah.
We got the keep. It's all that we can get right now. What can we do? Even if we get a kill, can we core? Probably not. Maybe let's just play this safe. We have a massive lead in experience. We're 2 levels ahead. We just secured top lane catapults. Move back and play this safe. This is the best of 7 that matters. If you mess up here today, you have to wait another 6 months at least in order to find yourself in this position again. Let's not risk anything here.
You have to last another 6 months. You have to stay together for that length of time.
Yeah.
You have to fight through all of the Open Division Cups. Once again, all of this difficulty.
And let's not forget, with JPL and also Darkmog already announcing in HGC that they are retiring, there are going to be quite a few roster changes.
Yes,
and if you will make it into HGC with this team right now, there's a pretty good chance that some of these teams that will need new players are looking towards the teams that made it into the Crucible and are thinking like, huh, who could we pick up here? So it's not even a guarantee that you can stay together as a 5-man.
Yeah,
so
you might lose some of your best players sniped away by other teams, so you have an even lower chance, potentially, of making it through Open Division again. So all the pressure is on for if all of them want to make it in, they have to win this best of 7.
Another thing is also that at this point we're seeing Executioner taken for Rosmek on his Greymane. And let's just be honest here. Greymane is killing it. Rosmek is absolutely murdering people, especially the front line. He's sitting at 49,000 damage. He's the top damage dealer of the entire game.
He has an entire Tyrande worth of damage more than Reyna. That's how much more damage he is doing in this game so far.
Yeah.
He is doing an incredible job.
Just to put it in perspective, Reyna is the 2nd highest damage dealer right now. So he does more damage than Reyna and Tyrande combined. And this is of course largely because he can get so much damage out with a bullet. But it's not the only reason. Rosmek has been killing it here.
Alex has tunneled in, but was spotted by the Crow Medivh as he hovers around that Raven form. As they creep forward once again, waiting for their chance to try and engage onto EPunks. But EPunks, their reactionary play has been just as good as their engages so far.
Top lane pressure is building up. ETC still at the bot lane here. And those catapults are going to be escorted to the core soon. Now we're 21 minutes in. Those bad boys definitely start hurting. But it's the level 20 that concerns me the most here. EPunks could literally give the Immortal up and just say, okay, we can defend against this.
Looks like they might. They're just chilling around, buying time at this point. They've got 2 catapults now, grouping up in top lane as the shield is finally starting to take some damage.
And think about it, if Monkeys actually secure the Immortal, it's going to walk to the top lane. There's still a 4th there.
Yeah.
And you have level 20. But at this point, EPunks are just shielding the Immortal as long as they can.
Shield is gone. They will get a tiny bit of percentage damage before the minions clean it up. Hyperion has been blown. They want to commit to this. The Hyperion's going to get the Immortal low.
The Quest
leaving pings in damage.
Losing hit points.
The
84%, 80%. Yeah, and another wave is coming in. Monkeys need to react to this eventually. 73,
Yeah.
and another catapult already pushing in.
The 2 catapults that were there have died. It's now just a single catapult with another on the way. So they're just going to try and buy the time and commit. They drag Cass, but a Force of Will again protects it, and DTC applies the block party.
Yeah, and any second we have level 20 now. 69% on the core already. The EPunks are definitely
There's 20.
pushing this, and the monkeys are hurting. They are really hurting. There's the 20, and immediately they engage. EPunks are looking for a kill.
Nova's dropped pretty low, though. From all the pokes taken, Rosbeg also eats a lot of damage. Maybe an overcommitment here by EPunks, but they do keep it calm. But 2 catapults back onto the core here from Monkey Menagerie. The shield didn't even have time to recharge fully. The core taking damage, and finally, Alex and Splendor both return.
50%, 48. Right now we're having also on level 20 perfect gems taken by Deckard Cain.
Oh dear.
I'm not even sure if I agree with that choice. I think the bottomless flask in the scenarios that they've been playing here would have been a fantastic talent choice for them. But they decide to go into the gems instead. EPunks now moving for the Immortal, even if they don't secure it.
Good knockback by Cass, preventing Alex from the drag. ETC with Bolt of the Storm as well. Their hard engage is now so good, which is why we see the perfect gems. They don't need the sustained fights anymore. They have 20. They're committing.
Well, they're going in right now with the ley line, already trying to make the play here. Slide again, not perfect, but it's good enough. Down goes Reyna. Reyna eliminated. Here comes Diablo, but this could be the beginning of the end for the monkeys. Deckard Cain is already moving in, trying to secure another lockdown. Here comes the portal engage onto Tyrande, and Li Ming, down she goes. Make is dead, and this should be the end.
Splendor got no healing there. Cass was applying so much pressure onto the backline, and they want more. Stage time coming in, but the gate's in the way. They portal to top lane, though. They don't need the Immortal. It's already taken. Alex snuck it away. They're going for the core.
They're going for the core here right now, and they can. It's a 5 versus 3 at this point. Who's going to stop them? EPunks with level 20. 9 kills against 0 are moving in. The drag against Urel, but the Ardent Defender is being used, and they're going for Remma Ball, and Diablo is not going to survive this one.
And Alex will fall shortly after. Diablo did have soul, so he will return. Last chance to defend this core. 2 catapults following in, but Splendor is taking them out. Alex survives. Remma tries to lay this. Everyone's back alive. Li Ming returning shortly, but with the portal, they dive past the members of Menagerie, and EPunks are going to take it.
They go for the core here. The catapults homing in too, and this is game as the EPunks secure the lead in the best of 7 series against the Monkey Menagerie.
Fantastic job there by EPunks. Like we said, a couple nitpicky things, but that was a solid game number 1.
Yeah. And also it was very concerning if you think about how quickly the monkeys picked every single hero in this draft. They got what they wanted. They got a draft that they said, hey, this is good for us, we can take this, and they got shut down hard. They didn't get a single kill in this. And we talked about all those layered protections during the draft, but
The counter is speechless.
You know, I'm like, monkeys monkeyed around way too hard during the season. And they said that they trained hard for the Crucible. They have to yet prove that because so far it hasn't shown. And right now, if this wasn't the wake-up call that you needed, then you're never going to get it. Because now they're down 1 game in the series. This is it.
Yeah.
Either you win this one or you're out. And that's just the reality. And the EPunks are hungry, and the monkeys still have to prove that they are.
Exactly. EPunks taking game number 1. It's the best of 7, remember, so they have a long way to go. But like you said, saying that you prepared this much, it was EPunks' map, to be fair, so we can take that into account, that they had a strategy prepared for it. It worked very, very well. The Medivh was a huge issue, but that's gotta be a morale hit, saying you prepared purely for this Crucible, likely knowing your opponent, and you still get taken down in that fashion.
One thing that I really liked is throughout the entire phase, a lot of the teams have echoed that they are trying to punish the front line of the monkeys, that they think that Remma Baller is oftentimes a bit out of position and steps maybe a little bit too far. If you think about what the draft was like on the side of the EPunks, it was perfect to just punish any kind of moment where you have a hero overstep. You have an ETC that can power slide, you have a Urel can jump in, push back. There's so many tools that they had with this entire setup. The Tornado, for example, on top of it too. A portal behind it through Medivh. With all those tools, you can punish a frontliner that just moves out a little bit too much. And we saw a lot of those Shadow Charge engages from Remaballer where he went a bit deep. You can pull it off if Medivh is on your side and can portal you out again. But he found himself quite often, all of a sudden, getting greeted by an immediately Tornado that pushed him in even further. And then it got just taken down by Greymane. So that's something that EPunks can try and mirror again in the upcoming games. But again, as you said, it's a best of 7. So it's only the first step here.
Here's where we're going to dive into like the more minutiae of that matchup. The lack of Exterminator from Reyna. If they had taken that, they would have won the first Immortal. That could have potentially snowballed a little bit from there, but that ace in the hole lost them that first Immortal there.
Then again, for me, it's always a bit tricky. I feel like with what they had, I can understand the choice to go to ace in the hole completely, because they already have poke against the Immortal. They have Tyrande, they have Li Ming, so you can really make a good argument that they need at least one hero that is more focused on just like punching down opponents' heroes. So I think that was not. I don't really necessarily think it was a mistake. They could have fully committed to the Immortal race. You're absolutely right.
It's definitely a viable decision either way. But it's that situation of, I know I made a fine choice and a completely okay choice, but if I'd had that.
Because you can make the argument that their draft or the entire idea behind it was more so to get more Immortal pressure on the opponent. So you can definitely make that argument, I can see that.
We certainly saw that in the last fight where EPunks were waiting for 20. That Immortal was just getting pinged over and over again by Li Ming especially.
I mean, for me, I talked about this in the middle of the game. I really just felt that losing a few heroes in the middle of the game when you can still secure the Immortal is fine. The problem is when the death timers are so high that every single kill against you just puts you at a massive disadvantage, not just for 10, 15 seconds, but for a minute or more. So you're in that really awkward spot. And they never got kills themselves. If you lose a hero or two, but you get your counter kills, that's okay. But they really lost a lot of momentum going into the later stage of the game because EPunks just kept killing them. And then they snowballed it hard because of the numeric advantage on the map.
Yeah, like you said, it was 10-0 in terms of kills by the end of that game. They never found their angles. They had a Diablo, Tyrande, Li Ming composition. When you look at that, you're like, whoever gets engaged on is probably going to die. But then you look at the opponent's team, Medivh, the disengage from ETC, the disengage from Deckard Cain. They had everything they needed to prevent this.
I mean, to be fair, we talked to Method in the last games that they played in HGC a bit about that missing synergy that we sometimes have between Diablo and Tyrande. And Benny, when we talked to him, said straight up, listen, stuff like that shouldn't happen. We made mistakes here in our own gameplay. This is something that we need to just like focus on a little bit more to find that synergy and see how we coordinate it. But that was completely missing in this particular game now too. When have you ever seen a Diablo engage into a Tyrande stun? It was basically not there. And then we had some misplays as well where Lauba nearly died on the ETC, was completely body blocked, and Rema just flips him over and allows him to escape here. If that kill happens against ETC, that's basically objective that you win.